A book about a dog who was a ghost? Where have I heard that before? First is the original cover, which is simple yet effective. A dog with a rabid mouth and some evil red eyes, and a really wide forehead. This is never one that scared me as a kid, but I do think it's well drawn. Jacobus is really good at rendering fur. Doesn't give me ghost vibes, though. The 2000s reprint is the usual fare, though the logo's changed to blue. The taglines are, "Bad dog," "Really bad dog," and "It's a doggone nightmare." Perfect. The UK cover is also really good, with a differently colored dog in the same pose and green bubbles. Take it in while you can, because sadly, there will be no more UK covers. After this book, the UK decided to forego our mystery artist and just use cropped versions of the original prints. The 2000s prints are already simple enough. Showing off another set like that would just be boring. Lastly, I have to quickly mention again Monster Edition 3. It's the last time we'll be seeing this collection of ghost books. Now, Stein has gone on record to say this and Go Eat Worms are his least favorite books he's ever written, so let's see if that's true. It's the first night in a new home, and Cooper is super scared. Every noise that gets made by the typical wind-shaken tree branch wakes him back up. He also dumps his trauma about his freckles and huge-ass ears, which he covers with a Red Sox hat. I don't watch baseball, so if you hate this kid already, let me know. So he used to live in Boston, where all his friends bullied him, but now he's in Maine, where every Stephen King book takes place. He has a cool bookshelf where he sits all of his snow globes, which I assume must be relevant given how much he talks about them. Before he can fall asleep again, he hears heavy breathing. Under his bed! Cooper is scared stiff, but then the breathing stops. Then it starts again, so he decides to finally get up and check it out. He looks under the bed and... 2 hands grab his neck. He screams, noticing his attacker is actually his older brother Mickey, who's been down here for who knows how long. Mickey keeps making fun of Cooper for being a widow baby, so Cooper goes wild. A fight ensues until Mom and Dad breaks them up. Seems Mickey has a history of being a rude brother, and right now Cooper wants to get him back, but how? Then he hears dogs barking. Except, they don't have a dog, and there isn't another house for miles. Even though the entire point of the new house was work-related. Cooper assumes this must be another Mickey trick, but no. Then he hears 2 dogs howling. Cooper himself mentions how many times this book is making him look out the window, and what he sees is nothing. As usual. So now, 4 chapters in, Cooper finally gets to go to sleep. Luckily, this work-related move didn't happen during the school year, but the week of free time Cooper has off means he's got no friends to meet. At least the house has a jungle gym. He takes a swing at the swings and thinks to himself, there were deaf dogs here last night, but there aren't any paw prints. Weird. Well, he really wants to find these wild dogs because maybe his dad will let him keep one as a pet. The house is flanked by some deep woods, so it's time for Scaredy Cat Cooper to go searching. The entire time he self-doubts himself on whether the dogs were even real, or if Mickey was just trolling him. He gets so distracted that now he's lost. He tries not to cry. He decides on a plan of walk right, and if that don't work, walk left. Immediately branches start snapping behind him, and then something brushes his face. A leaf. Get a grip, he says to himself. At least this guy's aware of some of these cliffhangers. He decides he's just going to sit here and wait until his dad starts putting the new grill together, and maybe he'll hear him. Another rustling and something grabs his arm. This time, it's a girl. She says her name is Margaret Ferguson, but people call her Fergie. Not that one. She means like the former Duchess of York. Yeah. Anyway, Cooper thought nobody lived anywhere near here, but Fergie says the houses are just pretty spread apart, and hers is through the woods, whatever direction she just pointed in. She actually calls Cooper by name, which makes him suspicious, so she nervously blurts out that she was watching him move in. He doesn't seem to really care about how creepy that is, so he just asks how long she's lived around these parts. She doesn't answer. She looks scared and she whispers into Cooper's ear, "Dogs." Then she starts running away. Cooper catches up to her though and restrains her. A lot of weird activity around here. She screams and he asks why she said that. She calms down and says she doesn't remember saying anything. Why would she even say that? How the hell should we know? Then she says that Cooper and his family need to get away. Something's up with this girl. She starts running away again, but Cooper's lifestyle as a pussbag means he's actually a pretty fast runner. She turns around and clarifies what she meant. The woods are haunted. Cooper's house is probably haunted. Then she leaves. He doesn't follow, but now he's more lost than ever. He manages to walk in a single direction, getting more and more scared until he finally hears the sound of his dad putting the grill together. He then notices 2 pairs of eyes watching him, 2 black Labradors growling at him with nasty yellow teeth. They start running towards Cooper and he sprints as fast as he can. He cries for help as he's just about to reach the backyard. He bursts through the trees just in time to tell Dad about the dogs. What dogs? Huh? Cooper even gets Dad to follow him into the woods, but the dogs are gone. He starts asking him what's wrong, like this is some insane cry for attention, and Cooper doesn't help when he tells Dad everything's haunted. He says to go eat some breakfast, and when school starts, he'll feel a bit more comfortable. Valid points, but when Cooper looks back at the woods one last time, the dogs are there. Then he blinks and they aren't. Maybe he is crazy. He asks Mom about if she knows the neighbors, and yes, she does, the Martells. She has no idea who the Fergusons are. Strange. He mentions the house being haunted again, and Dad shuts him down fast. Mickey pulls another prank by pouring salt all over Cooper's French toast, and Dad silently leaves pissed off at his terrible children. Cooper has no time for this right now, though. He really needs to convince his dad to move back home. So he talks to Dad again, and he basically says, even if there are dogs in the woods, who gives a shit? But then he mentions Fergie, and Dad's confused. Mr. Real Estate never mentioned that family. Maybe the house is haunted, and that's why it was so cheap. Dad says he'll ask around town to see if anybody owns them, so maybe Cooper can finally shut up. He stays inside all day and finishes unpacking all 77 of his snow globes, which, let me tell you now, as I am recording this audio, they do not come up again. They don't even get broken. When sleepy time comes, Cooper shoots up in bed when he hears the barking from inside the house. As a fellow fan of Higurashi, Cooper immediately grabs his metal baseball bat for protection. He hones in on his hearing and deduces the dogs must be in the living room. His parents have a room right above there, so why aren't they hearing it? He hears a crash. Must be Great Grammy's priceless lamp. He rushes into the room, flicks on the light, and the dogs aren't there. But the vase and a ripped-apart bag of chips definitely are. Then someone leaves some hot, smelly breath on his neck. Yeah, that's how the book describes it, and it's Mickey. He says he didn't hear anything and assumes Cooper's just trying to make the house seem haunted so they can move away. How can he make anyone believe him? On Sunday morning, Mom lets Cooper know someone's at the door. It's Fergie saying they need to talk, privately, and urgently. She blurts out it was Mickey's idea. Huh? The whole thing about the place being haunted, Mickey told her to play the prank on him when they moved in, but now she feels bad because he got so scared. He brings up the dogs comment, and she still doesn't remember saying that. She says the Martells don't own any dogs, and she's scared of dogs too. How convenient. She mentions a really cool arrowhead-shaped rock in the woods, and he says, why not go check it out now that I have some company? He grabs a stick in case the dogs show up, and OMG! There they are! He tells Fergie to run, and she goes so fast she trips over a branch. Then he laughs. That was revenge for the haunted business. She thinks that was pretty mean, but decides that since Mickey is the root of their problems, maybe they should target him instead. Somehow. They make it to the rock, which is a nice climb, and they brainstorm. Cooper jumps off and notices he's standing right on a patch of poison ivy. Fergie says, actually, my science teacher came out here and confirmed that just looks like poison ivy. So, maybe if we put a bunch of this in Mickey's bed, he'll flip out? They pull a bunch and head back to the house, only to see Mickey stumble into the woods. His clothes are torn, and the last thing he says is, the dogs, before falling down. Hook, line, and sinker. Another classic prank by Mickey. Goes to show Cooper does actually care about his brother, but maybe not for long. Mickey pulls the old say uncle technique on Cooper, and he ends up biting his arm. This gets Mickey to run back home finally, and Cooper's so pissed and embarrassed he doesn't even bother saying anything to Fergie. He walks over to the local stream for a drink, and sees a dog in the reflection. When he looks up, there's nothing. If there's one thing consistent in all ghost media, they're always just messing around with people. He squints to look back in the water, and the dog appears again, grinning. Assuredly, this reminded Cooper of Smile.jpg, and he runs home as fast as he can. He runs to the mirror expecting this to be some kind of demon that always appears in his reflection, but that's not the case. The rest of the day he stays quiet, and when Dad assumes it's because he's nervous for school tomorrow, he agrees, finally being a protagonist that understands if people aren't going to believe you, they won't if you keep yapping about it. His fear of the dogs causes him to oversleep, so he rushes to get ready and make a sandwich for lunch. Some whimpering from behind. Just Mickey, right? But no, dogs! They both stand in the kitchen, ready to attack. Cooper tries to use the back door behind him while still keeping his eyes on the dogs, but then they jump. He closes his eyes, just managing to see them steal his school lunch and literally go through the door. Mom and Dad come ask why he was screaming, so he thinks he just needs to tell them about what happened. Even he acknowledges that was a mistake. The recent trend of getting our kids some psychiatric help crops its head yet again. For the rest of the week, he doesn't see them, but he does hear them every night. I give props to Fergie for still trying to hang out with him despite him being completely distracted by dogs 24/7. Despite all that, apparently both families have gotten pretty close over the week. Did they ask why the realtor never mentioned them? No idea. Cooper decides to finally tell her about how he hears the dogs every night, and she's surprised. He never mentioned it because he's understandably assumed she'd think he was crazy, but she doesn't. And maybe during their upcoming Saturday sleepover, she'll hear them too. At midnight, he goes to wake Fergie up. Not because of the dogs, but because it's time to scare Mickey. The plan? A rubber rat? Well, he says it's rubber, but it's also so realistic it might just be a taxidermy. They can see from the hallway that he's fast asleep. He also mentions Mickey never sleeps with a pillow, which sounds horrific. Anyway, they sneak into the room, and even though Fergie breaks Mickey's skateboard, he must be a heavy sleeper. Cooper slowly places the rat near Mickey and moves to hide in the closet with Fergie. He tells her to stop touching him, but she says that's not her. A growling comes from right next to them, and the kids jump out in horror. Cooper trips over the ruined skateboard and faceplants. It was Mickey the entire time. That him in the bed was just a bundle of sheets. He was spying on them all day since Fergie showed up with the mysterious rat box in the morning. So the plan failed miserably, but you know what? The barking's back. Thankfully, Fergie can hear it too, and Cooper has to explain that for real, no one can hear it but us. They see the eyes glowing in the dark, and Fergie begs him to turn on the light. Before he can, though, Mom does it first. He tries to explain, but you know how this goes. At least Fergie believes him. They decide to go to bed and search for them tomorrow, but no. Cooper decides the plot needs to move forward now. We are 20 chapters in, it's time to move this along. They move outside with their flashlights in hand, and we've somehow moved into a dimension where the sky has no moon or stars in the sky. Oh, I just said sky twice, huh? Perhaps light pollution has gone too far. Cooper just can't understand why these dogs leave no prints and face through doors and disappear. What could that mean? They hear a creaking from the house, a small window, the type that leads into the basement. So maybe this is how they get in. He asks that to Fergie, but she doesn't answer. He spins around to see the dog charge right into him, slamming his skull into the side of the house and pinning him down. He shoves the dog as hard as he can, and it actually moves quite easily. He jumps up, ignoring his probable concussion, to see Fergie cornered by the second dog. He tries to wave a stick to scare them, but he stumbles over his dumbass and crashes into Fergie. Now they're both cornered. He tries to close his eyes like it would make them disappear, but it doesn't work. The dogs start tugging at their clothes, not biting, but pulling. So maybe they want to lead them somewhere. He doesn't believe that, somehow being more unreasonable than the girl who supposedly is afraid of dogs and tries to run. That doesn't work. So the dogs lead them into the woods, far enough to see an old wooden shack. Time to figure out what's in here. The dogs lead them to the door and they phase through it. Fergie says they must be ghosts or something. Thank you. Took you long enough. The kids try to leave, but then the dogs reappear, stand on their hind legs, and push them into the shack. They start to fall. Forever. So now it's time for the most unexpected and batshit insane exposition dump yet. The kids fall softly into a pitch black room, and the dogs actually start talking, telling them not to move in the changing room. So get this. Centuries ago, these two dogs used to be besties. Human besties. But then an evil spell turned them into ghost dogs forced to roam the woods. Okay. Further than that, this is the changing room. And despite being cursed centuries ago, they have spent nearly 100 years trying to lead two people into this shack. Cooper hits them with the relatable, and they're going to change places. The room starts to feel hot as an oven, and then sunshine. Both him and Fergie are outside, turned into dogs. Well, it's not all bad, they can at least read each other's thoughts. Assuredly, there's some great awkward jokes we can make with this concept, but we don't have much book left, plus all Cooper thinks about is how much he loves eating liver. He suggests changing places again, but of course, it's not going to be that easy. So, the backup plan is to convince Mom and Dad that those kids are fake. How to do that? Well, no idea. They go back to the edge of the woods and see the fake kids playing frisbee with Mom and Dad. Oh god, they're already better kids than them. They can't just barge into the yard, but Cooper has a better idea. They both leap into Mickey's room, finally scaring the shit out of them. "Mommy, Daddy," he screams, running around the house only in his underwear. It's a great moment for them, but Dad finds them and tries to shoo them away with a broom. Cooper tries to explain himself, but all that comes out of his mouth are barks. Mom freaks out and tells him to call a pound, and she's allergic to dogs. So why the hell did Cooper say he wanted to keep one as a pet in the beginning? As soon as Dad starts dialing the pound, the kids bolt back into the woods. The next idea is to write a note. They phase into the house and quickly realize dogs can't hold things. So he rips the paper up, and Dad comes in to shoo them away. They don't phase through the wall to indicate something is at least supernatural either, just run out of the door. Back in the woods, they start to feel hot again. Something's taking over. Fleas. Are you kidding me? With sentience, at least they can both scratch each other and realize they've gone a while without eating anything. So they have to go to the house and pray there's some decent scraps in the trash cans. Mickey at least saw them phase through the walls, but Mom and Dad won't believe him either. At night, Cooper smells his favorite, the liver, and runs to hopefully get some. He watches from the back door and hears fake Cooper yell out that liver's disgusting. Something totally normal to say, but not for him. This is his chance. He's gonna run in and devour the liver. Then she'll totally believe that he's Cooper and not just a hungry dog for sure. Mom freaks out and cries for help. Dad starts beating Cooper up and says he'll call the pound again. Fake Cooper mentions tranquilizer guns, so time to run away. So now what? Again. Time for a new idea. Hey, why not just drag the kids back to the shack? They have sharp teeth, so they'll just run in, grab the kids, and outrun Mom and Dad if they try to help. Interesting, that was like the first plan they had, but they said it would be too difficult. The plan goes pretty well, too. They run in, clamp onto their ankles, and tug. Dad even immediately believes they just want to lead them somewhere so they aren't a threat. They lead them all the way back to the shed and drop the fakes back in. The warmth comes back, but something's wrong. They watch as 2 kids leave the building, and then 2 dogs. But then, what happened to them? They're chipmunks. Exactly 2 of them must have wandered into the shack, and the switch occurred, switching them with chipmunks. And the fake kids didn't switch at all? Now what? Well, let's get some acorns. Guys, I have never had more unanswered questions in one of these books than this one. Let me rattle off some of the many I can think of in this moment. Who the hell cast a spell on the kids, turning them into dogs? Why does the changing room exist as both separate to what happened, but also their entire goal? Why have they been dogs for centuries, but only in the past 100 years have they tried to get people? Do they only target children? Why do they appear invisible to everyone but the children? But when they switch places, that doesn't happen anymore. Was Fergie saying the word dog and her family a mystery, just a red herring? How in the fuck did 2 chipmunks end up in the room, yet the fake kids didn't change because they clearly speak at the ending of the book? I even looked at the wiki about this. Both the page about the book and the page for the ghost dogs say the body swap worked. If it did, those kids would have the brains of a chipmunk. If anyone watching this is an avid wiki user, please fix that. Or maybe I will. Notice how nearly all of these problems occurred after the exposition dump. For most of the book, I wondered why this was so hated. Sure, the cliffhangers get repetitive, but they all do. I actually liked how Cooper and Fergie were a bit more intelligent than the typical protagonist, but when they just dropped all that information, what the hell? Call it a curse, why the hell is it an evil spell? And yes, this one did get an episode, so let's see if it's an improvement. So we start the episode with pirates? They argue about hiding some stolen gold, but one doesn't want them going near the changing tree. Different. The other makes sure to mention what time period we're in.
We're living in the 17th century!
And some dogs chase after them until it transitions to the modern day. Cooper talks all about the sounds and even barking dogs, which it's not like Mom and Dad don't hear it, they just don't give a damn. He looks under the bed to see... Was that a stock bull noise? Mickey should be in film with impressions like that. A fight ensues just like the book, and Cooper sees nothing in the yard, just like the book. What is new is this scene of Mickey pumping some iron in the yard. Cooper goes hunting for prints, passing right by the changing tree and this beautiful stream. He even finds a piece of ancient pirate gold. Before the dog reflection barks and Fergie catches him. Just like in the book, she won't say how long she's lived and warns him to move away. She doesn't say anything about a dog this time. Good. Speaking of dogs, this is the best casting in any episode yet. The dogs are perfect. Look at them go. They disappear just in time for Dad not to see. Things progress pretty closely to the book. He grabs his slightly less metal, hard-to-make-a-Hirachi reference out of Bat and sees all the trash left behind by the dogs. Even snarling, they're just adorable. Cooper calls out for Mickey, and oh wow, that's a decent effect, let's be honest. Mickey's back to pumping iron, immediately revealing that prank from before with enough subtlety you would think it didn't even matter.
Good work.
Which, in the episode, it really didn't. Cooper even says he didn't give a shit and is scared of the actual dogs that can jump through walls. You can tell she's really scared, by the way.
What?
After you disappeared, these huge black dogs came and chased me home. They appeared at my house last night, out of nowhere. They escaped by jumping through the walls.
Jumping through the walls?
They decide to investigate that night, skip ahead through plenty of waiting, right to when the dogs lead them to the shack, tree. Now again, these dogs are adorable, but don't forget, within them are two crusty old pirates. The exposition dump happens, which is much, much more believable. These two dogs chasing these two criminals knock them right into the changing tree, a mythical place that already existed, causing them to switch places. Now Cooper has this weirdly deep voice.
How did you say that? Your lips weren't moving.
And the pirates aren't even trying to blend in. They're covered in dirt somehow and just devouring food. They don't even think of an idea, just running into the house because they're so hungry. The dad harassing these poor dogs with the broom pisses me off, but it doesn't last long, and both the pirates and Mickey decide to look for the dogs outside. They end up at the changing tree again, meaning they probably all share a collective single brain cell between them. Oh, and also there's a chipmunk nearby. The dogs charge right into them and everything's back to normal. Somehow that cleaned the dirt off of them too. Except for Mickey, who they leave behind, swapped with a chipmunk, complete with a squeaky version of the Goosebumps theme.
Hey Cooper, you weasel, don't leave me here. What am I gonna do? You gotta help me, Cooper. This isn't funny anymore.
This is a great improvement over the book. Not to say it's even that great, the ending is just as rushed, but a lot got cleaned up. Dogs are never completely invisible, the kids were targeted because of opportunity rather than failure, the changing tree was made part of the backstory, the chipmunk was actually there was no red herrings, and the kids actually did switch back. Fandom Wiki. This does add the assumption that the original dogs switched with the pirates, and we don't know where they went, but I sadly must assume they got executed or something. While not a great episode, I prefer it way more to how the last quarter of the book went. Did you think so too? Did you realize that maybe you shouldn't follow dogs into the woods? Well, we aren't out of those woods yet, literally, because in 2 weeks it's time for the horror at Camp Jelly Jam.